Hey, everybody. We're live to talk about the effective video thought leadership strategy for next year, 2026. And we're going to have Michael join us shortly. Poor Michael is at a conference and he got the bad Wi-Fi situation. So he'll be joining us shortly. In the meantime, you got myself, Justin, and we got AJ Wilcox here. And then Michael, when he shows up, hopefully he can join us again. His Wi-Fi didn't completely die. We'll introduce him. So
conference Wi-Fi just never works.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
AJ, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'd love to. I fell in love with LinkedIn advertising about 15 years ago. Ended up just over 11 years ago starting my own ad agency called B2 Linked. And we are 100% dedicated to LinkedIn ads, high performance. We've been doing this longer than anyone else. I have ADHD, so I fully thought, oh, this might be something I stick with for a year or two. No, I'm 11 years in and I still wake up every day going like, what new can I learn about LinkedIn ads? So there's lots of depth here.
Yeah, I love that. And you're here because you use video in your,
Yes.
and we're going to talk about that.
Totally.
Part of an effective thought leadership program is, I'm spoiling it, is including video ads in your mix. And I'm Justin Vaco. I'm the founder of Dialogue Video Marketing. We facilitate short form thought leadership videos for LinkedIn specifically. We've helped over 150 entrepreneurs do this and counting. Hundreds, if not thousands, probably thousands of video at this point. I should probably get that number somewhere. And been doing that for a handful of years. I love doing this. My team loves doing this because we give a voice. I love giving a voice to people who frankly deserve to be heard. So all right. And then Michael's joining us. Michael's the founder of VideoSpand when he does join us, hopefully. And VideoSpand is, I like to say, he's the software equivalent of what we do. So what he does is get people on video at scale at the enterprise level. So, all right. Hey, here he is. Speak of the devil. Hey, Michael, welcome back. We just did introductions and it's your turn.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Good. I'm currently at a conference, so trying to activity issues here. But yeah, I'm co-founder, CEO of VideoSpand. VideoSpand is a brand standard for video that really everything you record, collect, or upload gets immediately delivered with that brand standard intact, and you've got all the integrations in place to publish it everywhere it's going to have an impact. Both personal and company pages on LinkedIn, branded playback experiences, downloads, it really stream video workflow. So excited to talk to you guys about leadership. It's a big use case for our product.
All right. Well, we did our intros just soon, Michael. So we're going to jump right in, folks. If you're here, first of all, I want you to know we're not going to talk about, this is not a session about talk about the technicalities of video thought leadership. This is not about the how-tos. If you're interested in that, I have other webinars I've done before. Some of them with AJ and Michael about like the technical how-tos or even how to convince your boss to get on video. That was a fun one I did about a month ago. So if that's your story, like how can I convince my boss? Now, some of the stuff today might help you because we're going to talk about some stats and some use cases, but really convincing your boss is often is more of a time and fear and psychology thing than it is a throw all the stats at them. So we do have other trainings on that stuff. But today we're talking about, okay, you're already bought in. You've thought about doing it or you're doing it already. And how do you actually make your thought leadership effective? And this is the onus for the call that we're doing. By the way, guys, it's if you're here, it's panel style. So if you have questions, pop them in the comments and we'll answer them as we go. We're gonna be here for an hour to 15 minutes Q&A at the end if we need it. But we're living in a very confusing time. I'm sure if you're digital marketing or anything real close related to it, you know this. For example, here's a confusing stat that's like, wow, this is what was the reason we're doing this. 96% of B2B marketers say they publish thought leadership. Like AJ, I heard AJ say it's like everybody he knows, every single client. But just 15% of decision makers rate what they see as very good, according to a LinkedIn and Edelman survey of thought leadership. So that's 85% of stuff does not hit the standard of what really we should be thinking about when we're thinking about thought leadership. So there's this massive gap between doing the thing and actually making it effective. And then we're going to talk about basically how to close that gap. We're going to be talking about the four learning outcomes, basically. Why video is a gold standard for thought leadership. Rethinking who owns thought leadership. How to leverage it as a sales tool. That's what I'm interested in talking with, especially AJ will have some things to say there. And then how to actually measure what's working. Before we dive in, excuse me, I came across this crazy stat. And this is for you guys. I don't know if you guys saw this, but according to this organization called B2B International, thought leadership jumped from number 20 on the list of as a priority for their survey they did for their buyers to number 3, from 20 to number 3. So thought leadership is having a moment. I don't think that's that's an accident. You guys know what I mean, because of AI. It's like with AI, everyone now can say anything, and we need true voices to emerge. And so I think that's why this is more important than ever. I remember writing a post a while back. It was pretty early during AI, maybe a year ago. I said, I don't think we're in the age of AI. I think we're in the age of the thought leader. I got a bunch of like laughing emojis because people didn't believe me. That stat backs it up. I feel very, justified right now. All right. So we have a trust problem. We have an authenticity problem. That's what thought leadership is designed to solve, but how can we make it effective? So, all right. Any thoughts, guys, before we jump into the first topic there?
Well, this is not the first time that we've faced this. I started out my career in SEO, and I can't tell you how long ago this was. Might be like 10 or 15 years ago. But Google had this issue where they realized we're sharing all of the information that's published on the web, but we know it's more trustworthy if it comes from a thought leader. And so that's when they implemented like the authorship tags that you can put on sites, where they're trying to aggregate and try to get authorship so that they can help rank that stuff higher than just some Joe Schmo who wrote something anonymous.
That's a really good example of, there's nothing new under the sun. And that's a great example. We've been here before. I think what we're, we'll talk about that. You know, how do you do the Google, tagging equivalent of that with thought leadership content now? Spoiler, I think it's video, but we're going to talk about that. So
totally.
All right. The first thing we're talking about, guys, is like basically why video is a gold standard for thought leadership. If you guys are in the chat, you're listening in, answer the question. Go ahead and answer. Are you doing thought leadership today? Let us know. Put it in as a comment wherever you're logging in from. We're streaming to LinkedIn, but also other platforms. So if you're doing video thought leadership today, let us know. Put it in the comments. But why video? Michael, do you want to talk to us about like why, because you built your whole business around video at VideoSpan. Why video specifically as a thought leadership vessel?
Well, I mean, what we saw and continue to see is that the popularity of video in terms of like short form video in particular for just like media consumption, right? Like Instagram Reels, and just how used to everyone is to consuming that type of content and how powerful it is for storytelling doesn't just stop in terms of it's sort of moved in importance in terms of business communications and the way people present themselves and how we talk to our customers and how we talk to each other within an organization. And that was sort of the trend we saw, but we also saw that, video is inherently difficult and challenging to create. There's a lot of friction that goes into the process, and the power of it in storytelling really comes down to like not just the person speaking, but also like, creating overlays, creating B-roll, animations, enhancing what's spoken about. And like we see video as the gold standard of communication. I think increasingly you've got younger people coming up in the workforce becoming buyers that are used to information in that format, like receiving information in that format, and understand the power of communicating storytelling in that format. And so like there's just no real better way to do it. And I could go on and on, but with AI kind of proliferating in the text space, it's sort of lowered the bar of value of what text-driven content really represents. And your ability to show up on camera, present, and actually talk with authority about a topic is a real differentiator.
I like the way you said that. Lowers the bar for what text content represents. It's an unfortunate thing to hear. I'm sure if somebody is a writer, I know a lot of writers. I write myself, but it's an unfortunate reality where we're at. If it's lowered the bar for text, it means that there's something else that has not been lowered yet. Some people might say, well, video will come into its own, we'll have AI attack it if it hasn't already. There's definitely software out there, but no one's using AI avatars for thought leadership. And if they're doing, I would say that's probably an ethical issue, a line they're crossing there. But that's a discussion for another day. AJ, why video in your world? Why is video a big deal for thought leadership?
Well, I've been doing LinkedIn ads, very publicly for over 11 years. And for the first probably 7 or 8 of those years, it was all text content. Whenever I would try anything with video on LinkedIn, first of all, LinkedIn's video is a little bit more new, but anything I would try, I'd go, oh, it's expensive. It doesn't work. Basically because it was being done wrong. And I didn't have a great example to follow. What I found is as soon as I went all in on video, all of a sudden my thought leadership started really sticking. And by sticking, I would mean like, I would probably get 2 or 3 times the number of leads or conversions when I was using video as when I wasn't. And the obvious answer there is, in order to want to spend 30 minutes on a demo discovery call with someone, you have to already know, like, and trust them. Mm-hmm. And I did this analysis, it's probably been 3 or 4 years ago, but I went, whoa, it's costing me, we were averaging about $8 per click to get someone to a blog post of mine from LinkedIn ads. But when I had a video, it was a short tip video, we were getting people to watch to 50% of that video for, I think it was like $2. And so it came down to, what is worth more to me? What is building that know, like, and trust factor more? Getting 8 people or 4 people to watch 30 seconds of me talking and sharing something of value, or 1 person getting to the blog post where they might just bounce anyway. Mm-hmm. And I realized, like, you build know, like, and trust so much faster over video. I mean, it's got to be like 100 times more efficient than text ever would be.
Yeah. That's exactly the same talking point I like to make. You said that very well, though, with your story. Basically, a lot of us, if we're skeptics, I'm a skeptic. We like to use logic to, pull apart why we don't need to be on video. There's a lot of folks, a lot of thought leadership programs. I had a conversation a couple weeks ago with someone on my podcast about their thought leadership agency, and most of their clients don't do video. There's this, but it's because it's not the logic it away, but it's actually not a logic thing. It's actually it's a fear-based, performance, TikTok, this emotional response to it. But you hit the nail on the head, AJ. It's, if you can embrace it, it's the next closest thing to a one-on-one conversation. And who wouldn't want 1 million or 1,000 or even 100, even 50 one-on-one conversations that lasted 30 seconds with your ideal clients versus hoping a few of them read your blog post, don't even see who wrote it, right? Don't even see who authored it. And they don't make that connection with you as a thought leader. And then they move on and are like, thank you for the content. And what I've seen, this is my experience, and I know this is everybody else's experience from what I've talked about. It's like, you read all these pieces of content and then you completely forget where you learned this thing. It happens all the time. Like, I'm a better entrepreneur because of the content I've read on LinkedIn, for example. Could I tell you the specific who did what? No. I can, however, tie back specific videos to things I've learned. Maybe it's the way my brain works, but I know from brain science and biopsychology, or not biopsychology, but behavioral, can't say that word.
Behavioral
psychology. that because the video sticks with us. It's a sticky thing because it's got moving picture and words and facial expressions, and you just, like you said, AJ, so succinctly, you buy into somebody faster, and it makes you more likely to get in there get that sale. I mean, LinkedIn found that out. This is not news anymore, but 9 out of 10, and this is just thought leadership in general, not even video, but it's like 9 out of 10 decision makers are more open to sales and marketing directed at them if preceded by good thought leadership. And so the question is, well, what is good thought leadership? How do we make that happen? So, I mean, That's why we believe video is the gold standard for thought leadership. And we've kind of covered that. Is there anything else we want to kind of talk about that experience with video specifically, and objections you guys have heard that you've been able to speak to?
I think just something I've noticed for myself. I get the opportunity to speak at a lot of different conferences, and oftentimes the other speakers are people I'm fans of. I've listened to their podcasts, I've watched their webinars, watched their YouTube videos. And what I've noticed is at a conference, I've never gotten like star power, like fangirl out over someone that I've read their blog. But when I get to meet someone finally that I've been listening to their podcast, or even more so, I've watched their video content, I get all nervous, like, oh, this is a celebrity. Like, what am I going to say to them? And I think that's it's the relative power of the medium.
That's such a good point. Yeah, you're right. It's the medium. It's the power of the medium itself. Yeah. So, that's the why, guys. I want us to be thinking about that. And the point on that is that it's video first versus text, and then trying to make it a video. One of the things I talk about is like, if you start with video, it makes everything else much easier versus trying to do it the other way around. I've talked to many marketing teams over the years who are doing it the other way around. And, the video is like a happy little accident, to use a Bob Ross quote, versus something you start with intentionally. And our agency at least does it the other way around. And so people get these transcripts from the video that you can then use for anything you want. It's beautiful. The way that if you reverse it, you're not fighting against the current, you're working with the current. But yeah, it's just easier. It's easier. It's more memorable. And I say easier. It's easier to get good content from, like direct quotes, if you start with video. And then produce some what's the word? Some shorts where your people are. Like if you do a blog post, people aren't hanging out on your blog necessarily. You got to get all this other content now to point people to this blog from your thought leader or your subject matter expert. And if you put together a little video of them talking, like your exact example, AJ, was this, like they can see it right where they're hanging out on LinkedIn, and build that know, like, trust factor much faster, which is honestly a brand shortcut. I think a lot of people forget that, we don't have to copy the playbooks of Adidas or the McKinseys of the world. We can take a shortcut with trust building, and that happens with getting people on video or even in thought leadership in general, not even video, but video makes it much faster versus people trust in the brand.
And the usefulness, I mean, you just said, like, you have a video, you can easily take that transcript and turn that into written content. But also the fact that if you have a long form video, you can break it up into little chunks that share really well on social. All of those can become YouTube shorts. All of those can become TikTok and Instagram shares. The long form can go on your YouTube channel and heck on LinkedIn. I mean, there's so much usefulness out of every piece of content you create. Whereas, like you said, text is it's so limited.
It is. Now we got a question here from, I believe it's Cease Verkirk. Michael, do you want to address that? I'll read it to you here. Great content. Thanks for sharing your expertise. Video thought leadership is king, but production costs and time can escalate quickly, especially for solopreneurs. How do you view that balance?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So I'll give you your payment after the webinar for teeing me up. So no, I mean, we hear this a lot. And I think everyone we talk to knows that they need to do more video. They should do more video. They want to do more video. And then they start and they realize, gosh, this is actually really time consuming and tough to do well, and kind of dangerous to do poorly. If you do it poorly, there's some brand risk there, especially like an enterprise. So what our platform does, and what we've kind of built the whole product around, is the idea that you can automate that post-production, all of that repurposing that you mentioned, the transcription into brand-aligned blog, brand-aligned social posts, the chopping in of longer content to shorts. Like, we basically asset that you record or upload and immediately deliver all those usable outputs, but with a brand standard intact. So you can kind of set several different templates, things like watermarks, caption styles, lower third, transitions, background music, everything. Dynamic overlays now, that's our latest release. That's sort of off of the transcript to create AI generated overlays with text, but it's really streamlining that post-production. So becomes as easy as, okay, I just have to record. And then on the front end, what do I, so our using AI to come up with content ideas within our platform. So we have this agentic layer that'll send questions to distribution lists of executives where they can click a link, record their response, and then the platform will handle all the post-production and put you in a position where you can just start publishing. And that's our solution. Like, and I speak to it because we literally address the concern that you outlined, right?
Yeah.
I think there's other tools in the space that do kind of pieces of what we do, but we're sort of locked in on trying to be the output for LinkedIn, especially the importance of professional video thought leadership that features executives. Like, that's where we're trying to create the ultimate output, right? So that's sort of what we do.
Yeah.
And 3 years ago, I wouldn't have trusted anyone to edit a video who wasn't a pro at like Adobe Premiere. But
Yeah.
in the last few years, tools have gotten so good, video span included, where I can actually trust like my not generic, my general content guy, like, hey, go and create something from this. I could actually trust myself to do this editing. It's a heck of a lot easier now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The stakes are lowered, and that's not quite the stakes, but the ease of use has been lowered. Democratized is one word for using software. Great question, Cease. Thank you for that. It doesn't have to be as complicated as you think it has to be. If you use your phone, is my take on that. If you spend any amount of time on LinkedIn watching videos, even of the people that maybe are household names, you'll see they don't have production studios. They have phones and they have someone filming them. Just think of Gary Vee and the videos he's been doing for 10, 15 years. He has people just filming him on a phone as he goes. That's just one example of how you can make that work. I don't speak at hundreds of events per year like Gary Vee, so there's no one to film me, but I do, just pick up my phone and record, and with a little bit of editing magic, thanks to software, like things like VideoSpan, you can get it done. There's no there's almost none, no production cost. We got another question on this topic from on my end. It says LinkedIn user. I'm so sorry. I don't know the name. It's not loading into our software here. It's for AJ. AJ, how did the LinkedIn platform react to you going from text to more video? Did it instantly trust you due to your already large following, or did it just take some time to adjust that? Were you just as good at video as you were at text? Those actually, it looks like two questions there.
Yeah. I think actually when I started running video on LinkedIn, this is the organic side only, not the ad side. I think my impression numbers were actually initially lower with video, and it could have been that I was doing a poor job of it, and that I've got a face for radio, which I fully admit. But it was also the way that LinkedIn measured it. It used to be that a video post, they would show you views, and text post, they would show you impressions. Now, even on video, they'll show you impressions. From the ad side, I know that it's on average, it's about 1 out of every 3 to 1 out of every 4 impressions turns into a view. So that could have just been it. Maybe they were both being treated the same, but I was kind of put out by the fact that when I do video, I'm getting less attention. But I noticed when I did that my inbound leads were increasing significantly, and especially when I was significantly increasing my video production. And not serious production. I mean, this is kind of a big deal to put together a whole like hour-long live stream. I was doing like 30, 40-second little tip videos, clips. Here's an industry update. That stuff, like, it's hard to hit the record button the very first time, but when you're doing it for the 13th time, it's like, oh, I'm ready. And you can just jump in and create this content.
Yeah. Good stuff. The follow-up question is, do you have any recommendations or favorite tools to streamline the creation process? Michael just spoke to VideoSpan. That's what we're just recommending. That's Michael's tool. He's literally built it for that, to make it easier. There are so many tools. I mean, we should probably do like a tool thing at some point, because I have my own thoughts on that. I know equipment and tools are a really big topic, but yeah, so many things to make it easier. The short answer for today is VideoSpan. All right.
With
So-
the added bonus that with Video Span, it's not just recording yourself. It makes it super easy to record your executive team, your coworkers. Like you can set this all up and have it all queued for them to just have it super easy to record. So
I just want to see if Video Span did not pay for this webinar.
No, we know. Yeah, that's good. Good
No,
mention.
it really does do all that. So like, and this is like a real pain point for people because they know they got to do this stuff. I think the one thing that like we choose that first sort of like I don't trust myself to record a video, and that's like we've seen that situation pop up with some clients where no matter how streamlined you make the entire workflow, there's just some people have this natural aversion to video. Like it's something that like it just is. It like so either do it and your business suffers and you're not able to get over that hump, or you try it a couple times, maybe don't publish the first couple recordings, build that muscle and just sort of see what it's like, and then build it up. And as you get better at it, as your team gets better at it, embraces it, it will help your business. Like I think everyone recognizes that.
totally.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because at the end of the day, it's not an equipment or a tool question. For some people it is. Legitimately, they've never really thought about it. But I found, to your point, Michael, it's a mentality, emotional.
Yeah.
That I'd say we all have that inner middle schooler in all of us that doesn't want to be judged. That comes up the minute you mention video.
Yeah.
It's like you're either like, oh, it's fine, which is a vast minority of people. Or you're like, oh, and there's this mental hump or emotional hump to get over. That was my story. I founded a video specific agency, and I remember I was like, crap, now I got to do video myself. I can't just like go and like tell people to do video and not do video myself. And I remember my first few videos sucked. I published them, but I was like, maybe it's just me. I have way less aversion to being publicly humiliated. But I know I recognize I'm in the minority there.
Back at my early videos and sort of hate myself too, but it's fine.
It's the name of the game. Everybody goes through that.
I mean, you're not gonna, but that's it. Like it's important. This is an important part of business now. It just is. It's like as important as accounting. Like you need to understand how to do your finances. I genuinely think you need to know how to show up on video and publish it consistently. Like it will help your business.
It will. If nothing else, what it'll do, what we found, my favorite side, and this is the last thing I'll share here before we move on to the next one. My favorite side effect of our clients and even myself doing video consistently is I've gotten feedback from them that like, oh my gosh, I'm becoming a better business owner. I'm becoming a better salesperson because I'm so much more. I'm just better. I'm so much more better at expressing myself. And that has many benefits in business. So, all right, let's talk about rethinking who owns thought leadership. My little story there is in the beginning when we were working with clients, I was like, no, we just want the one person on your team to share and build momentum. And I think there is value to that, of building like this mascot type person. Think of like Flo from Progressive. We all kind of know she is or was. She's still on the Progressive team, but my thinking around this started evolving once we realized that there were other voices on the team that were worth highlighting. And honestly, we were finding out that clients, sometimes they wanted a break for a couple months. And who else can we have on the team that can talk to this point, that can flesh out the idea from a different perspective? You get some really cool different voices on the same topic. And that was my own story. So our model moved from the Flo spokesperson model to what I've noticed. I don't know if you guys have noticed, Progressive now has a whole team of spokespeople in their ads. There's like a handful of them, and they've spread out the voice of Progressive over multiple white shirted representatives. And so that's kind of the model we use for our clients now. But for context, we serve B2B boutique firms. So it's not a ton. It's not like we're serving on enterprise where there's like hundreds of voices up, thousands of employees. It's usually a handful. So I want to hear about what your experience has been for you. I'll start with you, AJ. If you've seen this, like, how have you gone about figuring this out for your clients or, for the people in your network?
Yeah, obviously I'm working most of the time with the marketing team, the ones who are responsible for their LinkedIn ads. And so it's really easy to get a marketer to put together a thought leadership kind of post. Video's a little harder, like we've talked about, but you can get them to do it. But this hurdle of like, okay, who else in the organization? Are there other internal subject matter experts? Are there members of our executive team that we could rope in? Are there external people like, customers, influencers who could be good for this? And we've done a lot of testing, like, hey, let's bring in a little bit of everyone. And the beauty of advertising is if I put, let's say, an internal subject matter expert, the marketer, and the CEO, we put their content all head to head, we're going to find out pretty quick which one your customers like better. So do this testing, figure out what your prospective customers, what engages them. Your CEO, your president, your head of sales, they're going to have a very different view of your customer's problem, a different perspective than someone like who's more in operations on the marketing team. So test them all against each other. And LinkedIn has made this so powerful with the ability to do LinkedIn's thought leader ads.
I like that perspective. What have you found? I'm just curious now from like, think of a test you've done. Was there anything surprising about that you discovered, or maybe not surprising, just kind of confirmational insight that's valuable as well?
Not too surprising. I find that oftentimes when we send out, so there's two different kinds of ads that can use a person as the originator. There's the thought leader ads, especially video, that come up in the news feed. And we find out that usually, like if you have your CEO, your founder, a senior executive, usually their post is going to outperform someone else's. But then we also have this ad type called conversation ads, where you send a message as someone. And we find that the higher the rank we use, the lower the engagement, the lower the open rate we have. And I think that makes sense, because you would go, who am I to have the CEO of a company reaching out with an individual note? Like, that's just not very believable. But it's a lot more believable when that comes from someone like in customer success. So
yeah, that makes
test
sense.
a little bit of everything. Test every voice.
Yeah. Having an ad budget, basically, takeaway from me from this one is like having an ad budget for your thought leadership stuff is important. I don't know if it's critical. It's not for our B2B clients. They're getting success without it. But I have done some stuff, just tested little bitty testing with video with some of our clients, ad spend wise. And it's great for getting that, warming up a large audience. There's a whole strategy. And I know AJ, you teach your groups on how to maximize video thought leadership ads. I like the point though about the testing against the different ones. And there's something to be said about, if you're looking for click-through rates or whatever, you can definitely understand if there's a certain, I don't know, like somebody that's more animated and expressive and passionate, maybe you'll get more click-through rates, but that doesn't necessarily mean, and I wonder how you do this with your own thought leadership ads on video. How do you evaluate like the lurkers of the world, the people that don't click, but they're still absorbing the content? Do you factor that into your ROI or to your KPI reports?
Yes. Awesome question. What we find is if one video post is really good at getting people to consume the video, it's usually going to have a low click-through rate, a low engagement rate. And if something doesn't have very good viewership, it's oftentimes going to have much better engagement. And I understand this because, a video post essentially has two calls to action just by default. There's the implicit, I'm playing right now, watch me, pay attention to me. And then there's the call to action at the end that's now I want you to do something. I want you to click. And so the more time they spend watching, the less likely they are to click. This is actually really cool because if you just have these lurkers with written content, the only thing you see is who's engaging with the post, clicking in some way. But with video, now you get this metric to be able to measure the lurkers. We can watch how many people are making it to 25%, 50%, 75%, and to completion, over and above just the engagement metric.
That makes sense. Yeah, and you can use that for retargeting.
Yes. Yeah.
I'd say I'd add like one CTA on there, which is when they just scroll by, right? So that's where we see sort of having some kind of brand aesthetic that's consistent to the video content, so that even if they're not engaging with the entire or even a portion of the video, maybe it's not even that they're not interested, maybe they're just not in a situation where they can watch a video, you're still getting some sort of impression that create the synapse between your brand and them, right? And that's why we think it's important to have consistent quality brand aesthetics on video.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The time I became most aware of that for myself wasn't on the LinkedIn feed. It was in my email inbox. I shared this in a post a while back. I realized there's this guy in my network. His name's Michael Helmke. Shout out to Michael Helmke. He's an email guy. That's the whole thing. He does email campaigns. That's his whole thing. And I realized I met him like a year or two ago, and I still get his emails every week, I think Thursday morning. And I rarely open them because I'm doing stuff. I'm like getting through my email sorting. But by golly, if you ask me who's my email guy, it's Michael Helmke, because he's right there. He shows up, to your point, Michael, like just get that little bit of brand color, get that little bit of logo, get something out there. The impressions do matter. It's there's a name for that. There's a name for that in behavioral psychology, where the more you see something, the more open to it you are. We're not even talking about thought leadership anymore. We're just talking about branding and marketing 101. But yeah, great point. Michael, this is kind of the multiple voices thing. I'm sure, what have you seen with your enterprise clients? There's so many voices to pick from. How do you guys handle that?
Yeah, I think so. This strategy, it works best in an environment where executives or salespeople are posting branded content directly to their personal pages, right? And in those scenarios, you get sort of unprecedented organic reach with your content. So creating a global brand standard to the video and allowing your executives to sort of record their thought leadership content into it, but then not just publishing it to company pages, empowering them to publish branded content to their personal pages. And typically, when companies unlock that strategy and then, to AJ's point, put paid media behind key executive talking points and things like that, or ones that have really kind of connected with clients, or you put some extra production time into, that's where you can really leverage LinkedIn. Talk about video thought leadership, like LinkedIn really is the platform for that. That's where you can really use a platform like LinkedIn to your advantage and sort of scale your brand organically in a way that you can't if you're just using the company page. And where like a lot of companies are reluctant to take that tact, for like a lot, and maybe some employees are reluctant to take that tact, but there's some organizations or like industries where it just makes sense, where people are a producer type role. So like you've got insurance organizations where people kind of have to kind of build their own books. You've got real estate in the similar type model, anywhere where people are kind of I'm leaning on the company's brand to help me produce for myself anyway. So let's do it with my content on LinkedIn. You can effective scaling strategy.
That makes sense. We got a couple questions come in here. Steven Silverman, what recommendations do you have for transitioning from text post to adding video into the mix, Steven? This is exactly the problem our clients come to us for. They are often, not always, but often, most of the time, they're doing content on LinkedIn. And often it's here's this event I went to, and it's a selfie with 5 other people. And they're not really maximizing their use of LinkedIn. They're busy, successful entrepreneurs. And so your question is transitioning from text post to video. AJ had a really good tip earlier, which is if it's an emotional, thing you have with video, just record a few and don't use them. Just get in front of the camera and just don't even have the expectation I'm not even going to use this. And then, it's what you're basically doing is, what's that called? When you put yourself in front of something over and over and then you lose the fear of it. Exposure therapy, basically. Yeah. That's a form of exposure therapy. The other idea for that I've seen is guest on podcasts. You're going to get into the flow and you're going to talk with folks. It'll be nerve-wracking, but then you'll start teaching your brain again through exposure therapy. Oh, this is okay. And then you can start transitioning to doing your own. It's a big question because there's a lot of moving parts to this question. Like it's a technical one. It's an emotional one. For me, when I started with video, I just started recording with my webcam. I had a couple points I wanted to make. I didn't script anything because I already knew, because I had been a video producer for years before that. If you script stuff, that's a big no. Don't script stuff. It's going to come across wooden. That completely defeats the purpose of being on video. You want to have, if anything, your points. And then what I talk about is sprints, not speeches. So don't think of it as a presentation. Don't think of it as I have to go from point A to point B without any pauses, without any ums. You have this huge high standard for yourself with polish. No, just go through your points. You put them up in a Google Doc. Look over at the Google Doc. This is my first point. Talk to the camera. Look back at the Google Doc. Come back. This is my second point. And then guess what? With editing, the magic of editing, you can cut it down. The AIs know how to do that. Opus, we use Riverside. Riverside does Magic Clips. I know VideoSpan does that. All sorts of software can help you in the editing portion. And then don't forget, with video, you need a text post to go with it, especially on LinkedIn, because a lot of people still aren't trained on video to watch a video. It's changing. People are starting to, but make sure you include a text version in there of basically what you shared. What we like to do with clients, we tell them put more context in the text post if you need to. You mentioned this point in your video, flesh it out in the text, and then don't forget to put a call to action if it's appropriate to do so in the text. You don't have to necessarily do it in the video. Yeah, LinkedIn is its own beast compared to other platforms, but those are my 2 cents.
Yeah, and don't stop doing the text posts. Just you keep
Right.
doing text as normal, and then throw a video in, throw 2 videos in. Intersperse them, give your audience some variety, and then see how they do. And if they absolutely suck, okay, you don't have to do them as much. But I would say plan on keeping doing it. Just you're going to get better over time, and you'll probably see more results from that.
Yeah, it's not a one and done. That's for sure. It's a practice to get into versus a thing to test. You will get less views in the beginning and probably forever, because LinkedIn doesn't reward video organically like it did for a hot minute a year ago. I don't do video for the views. None of our clients do. They don't do it for the views. Views are important, but they're not the thing. The thing they do it for is to stay in touch with their network over time with just a face to the name. And then, that trust factor we talked about earlier on in the show. We got a couple other questions. We'll see if we can have time to answer them at the end. Paul, it looks like, Paul answered the question actually. Chris asked, what's the good look for video? And Paul's like, hey, it's about the content. It's not about the microphones. Fun fact, I have recorded videos on my phone before where I had the microphone in the front, and then I wasn't even using the microphone. And I was like, just by using the microphone though. So this is a weird hack. I noticed on TikTok and a couple other places, my views had a bump compared to my regular stuff because of the presence of a podcast microphone. So if your goal is views, you give it an authoritative like flair, but it's just, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. Our clients don't use the microphone in frame because they're doing short form. We don't expect you to have this. We're on a podcast and I need to have it here so you can hear me. But if I could, I'd get it out of frame and you would just be talking to me like Michael is right now. So that's my take on equipment and look.
I would say with the aesthetic, like for professional LinkedIn style thought leadership, if you're anything like that, like you want it to look and feel like somebody is for a meeting and you're having a casual conversation with them. Operationally looks like for you, position your recordings to sort of look and feel like that. So you want it to feel like one-on-one in a professional setting. And the key word setting, right? So there's that balance, and that is authentic. You're putting your business hat on and you're having a meeting with someone, talking to your client. You're being professional with the video.
I like that take, Michael. I think that's a really good take. Yeah, it's what would you do in a one-on-one setting with someone? Do that with your video as well. You wouldn't show up to a coffee chat or a networking call with a microphone. You don't need that, although that would be pretty funny as a video. Let's dive into, we got a couple more to get through here, guys. How to leverage thought leadership videos as a sales tool. This is the one I was most excited about because this is kind of where the rubber hits the road. This is where I think there's a gap in effectiveness between doing the task of thought leadership and checking it off and actually getting results from it. I want to know, guys, put it in the chat. What is your biggest challenge with getting your thought leadership into the hands of ideal buyers? If you guys have struggled with this, or if this some, you've got a challenge of some kind, put it in the chat. AJ, you said something, you're writing the post for this. You said conversations over impressions. I was reading that when you're promoting. I was like, that sounds like music to an SDR's ears. What does that look like for you?
The beauty of what I do in ads is I get to specify what audience I want to send what post to. The really hard part is, if you're, let's say you as a marketer, if you create content and you want to compare that organically against content that's shared by your CEO, chances are your CEO probably has 3 to 4 times the number of followers as you do. And so it's never going to be an accurate A/B test. But when you advertise, the ad platform doesn't care how many followers you have or your CEO has. What it cares is that you have 2 posts here, and it's going to test them against each other head to head. So yeah, I think that's my biggest help from the ad platform is let's take the content that we want, put it right in front of exactly the right people that we want to see it. And what it is going to generate, it's going to generate different kinds of engagement and different kinds of conversations than it would have organically. And these are the conversations that when you have them with your ideal target audience, they matter more. So yeah, I don't know if that's
yeah, that answers it. It's a warming up process with your ideal. I mean, this is what we've seen. We had a client story. This is a little one, guys, because again, you guys serve enterprise. I serve B2B boutique firms. We had a small client, solopreneur, and he did some ads with us, and he did some video. We were just testing some ads over the summer, like how good can we do for ads? And he had been trying to reach this this guy at Siemens, I believe. And so our client's based in Chicago, is trying to reach this guy at Siemens, also in the Chicago area, for 10 years. He'd been trying to get a call with this guy. He worked with us within 2-3 months. He got a booked call with the guy from Siemens because he'd seen his videos and he'd seen his content. And I was like, oh, that's such a cool way. It's a one, it's a one-off, but that's a great example of like what can happen when you try to do outbound without the content, without the video, without that personal touch. And I don't remember if the guy saw his ads or if it was a video or post specifically, but the point is this is an enhancer of sales activities. It gets you in the door. Literally, according to LinkedIn and Edelman, they said, good thought leadership makes people more open to what you have to say. It just makes sense, right? If we've all been learning from somebody, we heard a tip or we saw, and we know the face to the name, and it's not just this generic tip, which is important. Remember in the moment, you're not going to remember who you learned it from. You need to remember that. And that's what video does. Then we're going to be more open when they reach out to us and say, hey, are you interested in having a call about this topic that could be useful to you, whatever your outreach looks like? That's my take on using thought leadership as a sales tool is similar to what you said, AJ. If you get the right audience targeted and then you have some kind of outbound to go with that, not just inbound, but also some outbound with an SDR, even as a founder or your sales team doing some follow-ups or just reaching out to people, you're going to find it's going to be way easier to have those conversations.
Well, and think about the imbalance of power, or the power balance is like, if you're creating what we call inbound content that is thought leadership, it's a pull. Like we're going to put something of value out there, and then that's going to attract people. They feel a lot more confident and comfortable coming to you when you're a thought leader versus when you go pure outbound and you're trying to hunt them. They feel like prey, and they're trying to back away, and they're putting up walls. And what you just talked about is kind of a mix of the two. Like, I'm going to put together pull content that's meant to attract you, but then I'm going to seed that in my outbound so it feels less aggressive, less like I'm hunting.
Yeah.
I think that's a super valuable.
I think you hear a lot about social selling as like a tactic, especially B2B. And I think people misinterpret that as just sending LinkedIn DMs. That's not a social selling strategy. I mean, that is a strategy. I don't think you're going to do and cold emailing people. If you relevant, and if you're posting regular content that they're seeing, search the forum, and they engage with your content in any way, use that as a catalyst to create a conversation. Like that, those are good ways to social sell. But the the table stakes are you've created some sort of social presence. You're not just landed and you click into account and there's nothing there. So if you've done presence where somebody knows you're a real person with real expertise, much more smoothly from there.
Totally.
Exactly. It's the modern era of selling stuff when you're not in the same room as somebody. You need to have authority that someone in your company needs to look like they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, like a drip campaign. It's happening for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, let's finish up the last one. How to measure what's working. For me, it's simple. I'll just kick it off. We just ask our clients, what are you hearing from your leads? And are they referencing the video content? The fun, interesting one, we don't look at front end engagement anymore. It's such a red herring on LinkedIn. And the simple reason is because the people who engage with your posts, commenting and liking, are rarely, 9 times out of 10, they're not your buyers. They're peers or people that know you from a different context. So we just ask on the back end, what are you hearing? You know, that's what we do with our clients. Want to know what you guys do.
Yeah, on the ad side, really easy to get metrics out of it. So that's what I love so much, is this ability to compare the metrics. I'm looking at video consumption. I want to see what percentage of people start the video, what percent make it to 50%, what make it to completion, and what my costs are at all those levels. And then I also care about the engagement, because like we talked about, sometimes video consumption is high, engagement's low. If your goal is to pass information in that, then it's accomplishing its goal, whether or not you have any sort of like engagement on that.
Yeah.
Then past that, I really love the question that you ask, is like, do people mention your video? I can count on maybe one hand the number of people who, when they reach out to me, they go, hey, I've read everything you've published. But I have countless examples of people who say, I've watched your videos, I've watched your podcast. It makes more of a memorable connection than text does. So ask for those things. Ask, like, especially when you've been doing it for a while, ask just anecdotally, has anyone mentioned? Have you heard people bringing this up to you? That's a vote of confidence that what you're doing is getting attention and it's working.
Yeah. Michael, what have you, I know you guys are on you're on the, similar to us, you're in the like production, solving the production, video production problem, and less on the, how do you now leverage this as an asset? Do your clients ever talk to you about, attribution and the ROI, and what does that look like in your world?
Yeah, so our platform has analytics that like it collects on like post views, like basically everything you would see on whatever platform you've posted to. Like we kind of consolidate into our platform for, at least on the social side, you can in terms of impressions and like all that we see as incredibly valuable. Like I said, if you have an large enough and where it makes business sense to have your executives posting to their personal pages, that organic reach is like such a force multiplier in terms of the actual like views and sort of brand awareness you can create. It's a massive scaler. The challenge is LinkedIn's APIs don't personal data. So some of what we do is like when we're talking to clients, it's an unbelief this works so well, but they still kind of have to kind of see how many impressions it got. And that LinkedIn, if you're listening, we would love some way to
we need some personal account APIs. 100% back that up. Yeah. We've run into the same challenge when we're trying to do attribution for clients. We've had to use third-party tools, and one of them, they get swatted at and banned all the time because you're not supposed to do that. We want to know the data. Like, we don't want to have to log into our client's account to see how they're doing. And so it's weird. It's a weird miss on LinkedIn's part.
When we do, we see it. We see that it's like an explosive. I mean, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
The only other thing I would say on this is like attribution. People talk about it all the time, especially B2B, longer sales cycles. There's time to create a purchasing decision. And to what point about like, oh, I saw your videos, like if you're in a sales cycle with someone and you make a LinkedIn connection request, which you probably should as part of like a sales cycle, they're going to watch your videos. And they'll probably, like you said, they'll probably mention them on the call. And then if you're posting consistently across the long sales cycle, like they're going to see you, they're going to remember you, they're going to remember that something that you can provide them, and it forms that deeper. And they'll say, yeah, I saw your LinkedIn post, and like that should be considered across these long, bigger sales cycles.
Well, this is great stuff. We're at time. Any parting thoughts? AJ, I'll start with you. And then not parting thoughts, but I guess like, what's your final word? And then if there's anybody that has questions, let us know. We've been getting great questions. Thank you, everybody. But AJ, I'll have you what's your moral of the story from today?
My moral of the story is you got to use video. You don't have to use it paid. Of course, that makes it a lot easier to test. But you got to use video for your thought leadership, and you got to try getting other people involved to see if it moves the needle more when someone else is delivering that message. Great. Like, go more in on that. That's optimizing.
Michael, what's your moral of the story?
Yeah, we hear it a lot. people know this is going to move the needle. So what are you going to do as a business, whether you're a solopreneur or like a Fortune 5, make this core to the culture? Because like, just like initiatives in-house, whatever, like you want to have, you need to create a video first culture. Like you need to have your executives camera ready. They need to be trained. They need to understand how to show up on video, and they need to understand how to present it, especially short form video, how to take advantage of the medium to actually like connect with customers, connect with prospects. It's so I think 2026, you're doing these strategic initiatives, you're doing this planning. Okay, video is going to help our business. Let's make video a strategic takes on. And of course, we've got a great tool that you should consider as part of executing that strategy.
And that tool is VideoSpan.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, my moral of the story is, do not think as thought leadership divorced from where your buyers live their lives. Meaning, put your thought leadership where your buyers are. It's a distribution problem. If you have ineffective thought leadership, it's often because it's not showing up where your buyers are, whether it's on LinkedIn or YouTube or even Google, which produces nowadays, if you do a Google search, 30 to 60% of the first page results include video. So you need to show up where your buyers are if you want to have an effective thought leadership program, because it's not just, Gen Z that's consuming video. I have a stat right here about how executives, I think it was 70%, and don't quote me on it, but it's above 50% number of decision makers are watching video content, including thought leadership video content, before they make their buying decision. So you need to be having a steady stream of that out there. It's not a one and done, and you need to have it out in front of your buyers ultimately so you can stay top of mind. Because just because somebody watched a video of yours from a year ago doesn't mean they're going to remember you when it comes time for them to buy, whatever length of time your sales cycle is. So have a plan, have a strategy for keeping your videos in front of your buyers. Now, if you guys want to ever talk about, what do you actually say in the videos to make it effective, that's a whole nother game. We can talk about that some other time, but there is a strategy to that. And we'll probably talk about that next time. For now, don't see any other questions. So we'll just wrap it up there. Thanks, AJ. Thanks, Michael, for being here. And thank you, everybody who joined us. Really appreciate you spending your Wednesday morning with us, or whatever time of day it is.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Well, have a good one, guys. We'll see you.